I want to ask you a question. Have you ever experienced a miracle in your life? Have you ever created a miracle in your life? Maybe it was just some small coincidence. You thought about a friend who you hold dearly and they ended up calling. You think about someone and you run into them at the grocery store or a restaurant. Maybe it's something a little bit bigger, right? Maybe you had a desire for some more money and it miraculously showed up. Or you had been wanting to meet the person of your dreams for a really, really long time and it hadn't happened. And all of a sudden, through a series of extraordinary coincidences and synchronicities, you met the person of your dreams. Or maybe it's an even bigger miracle than that. Maybe it's a miracle healing. Maybe it's a diagnosis you had that you didn't want. And the doctor said that there was really no way to get to the other side of it, but somehow miraculously you found a way to do it. Or you found yourself in a really difficult bind and somehow the resources showed up to shepherd you to the other side. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about the science behind miracles, the neuroscience, the behavioral psychology, the metaphysics, so that you can actually understand how you've created miracles in the past, the step-by-step process, and how you can replicate that on an ongoing basis. And I believe that you do create miracles in your life. I do believe that you co-create miracles with an intelligence that permeates all of reality. Some people call it universe or the unified field or God or Jesus or Allah. It doesn't matter what you call it. The fact of the matter is that there's a corresponding nature to life. And what we find is that what we think actually materializes into our life. And if we hold a vision and a dream long enough, not only does the vision and the dream unfold for us, but the way it unfolds is what makes it a miracle. We never could have planned or predicted the way it actually occurred. And it surprises us in a way that brings joy, that brings faith, that brings curiosity, that brings excitement about the future. And I'm going to be breaking down for you the step-by-step process for you to predictably create miracles in your life. Because the truth is that miracles are meant to be everyday occurrences. And there's something specific that you're doing that is actually blocking you from experiencing on a more regular basis the miracle of everyday living. And I'm going to start by sharing with you a story. It's a story of my own miracle. Many, many miracles that I've experienced in my life, but this is one that just really committed me to the idea that there's a power greater than me and that I'm operating in coordination with it, and got me really curious in terms of understanding how in the world did this happen. So this was about a decade ago. It was right when I was starting my coaching business, and I knew that one of the things that I wanted to do was to become a speaker. And a few years before, when I was going through my drug and alcohol recovery, my inner dialogue was so poor that I would replace that inner critic every single morning listening to the voices of other really powerful people. There were a handful of people. One of those people was, and who I still think is, the world's greatest speaker, a guy by the name of Les Brown. And if you've been in personal development or motivation for a while, you know who Les Brown is. I listened to Les as many videos as I could find to build motivation inside of me, to build new possibility inside of me. And so when I decided that I wanted to go out and start to share my own message, and I knew I wanted to be able to do it in part from the stage, I got online and I looked to see if Les Brown conducts speaker trainings. So I went to his website, I went to his training page, there was a calendar of events and it was totally blank. So I said, upcoming events, nothing. About 3 weeks later, for whatever reason, I was sitting in my home office and I just had this inclination to go and check again. It sort of defied common logic. I just looked 3 weeks before. There was nothing on the event page. But lo and behold, there was an upcoming speaker training event in Fort Lauderdale, Florida with Les Brown for 2 days. Now, at that time, my wife, who was then my girlfriend, and I, we were living in my apartment in Orlando, Florida. And I said, babe, I'm going to go to the speaker training. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. She said, you know what? You go. I'll stay here with the dog, and you have a great time. And a couple of days before the speaker training, which was about a 4-hour drive from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale, she said, you know what? I'd love to go with you this weekend. She said, I can hang out at the hotel, go to the beach. I can bring the dog with us. Maybe Les Brown will have the opportunity to meet Dexter, at that time, my 11-year-old Chihuahua. And I said, fantastic. So we drive to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We check into the hotel, and I head over to the first day of the speaker training. And I'm in the speaker training, and Les is just unbelievable. He's teaching us all how to be a world's greatest speaker, and he tells stories. And one of the stories Les told was one of my favorite stories that I had ever heard him tell. I heard him tell it on video, and here I was experiencing it live. And it's a story he tells about the early days of him speaking when he was just coming up. And he said he was on the road a lot, and he had the opportunity to speak for a big network marketing or direct sales company, and he just rocked it on stage. And so as he walked off stage, the attendees at that event were just chanting his name, Les, 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 Les. And he tells this story about how he calls his girlfriend at that time. And he says, babe, I think I finally turned the corner. I think I finally made it. Listen, they're chanting my name, Les, 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 Les. And she says, well, Les, I'm really happy for you, but we need to talk. And he said, babe, what do we need to talk about? And she said, well, Les, you've been gone a lot. You've been on the road. And I'm not sure this relationship is going to work out. And Les hears this male voice in the background who says, just hurry up and tell him and hang up the phone. And she says, well, Les, I'm sorry, but I'm seeing someone else and it's over. Click. So she hangs up on Les. He's devastated, gets down on his hands and knees. He's about to break into tears when they say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome for an encore speech from Les Brown. He gets pulled back out on stage in front of this audience. And the way he tells the story is hilarious. I won't do it justice, but he says, I'm down on my hands and knees. I'm devastated with a broken heart. I'm literally crying on stage. Everybody else thinks I'm just hamming it up. And I'm saying, you got to pursue your dreams. There are going to be people who don't go along with you. It may break your heart. You may feel like your life is ruined, but you got to keep moving forward. And he said, I was basically giving a motivational speech to myself. He says, that night, I went into the hotel room. I got down on my hands and knees. I opened up the nightstand and I grabbed the Gideon's Bible. And I had heard him tell that story probably half a dozen times. And it always ends with the same, I get down on my hands and knees. I opened up the nightstand and I grabbed the Gideon's Bible. So I'm listening to Les tell this story in person, and I'm so friggin' excited. I turned to the woman next to me. I'm like, this is my favorite story. She's like, this is my favorite story too. I said, I can't believe I'm hearing it in person. She goes, I can't believe it either. So we wrap up training for that day. I meet up with Carol, and we end up going to bed. I wake up the next morning, and we're laying in bed. It's me, Dexter, my Chihuahua, Carol, my girlfriend at the time, and the other person that I tended to wake up with every single morning back then, which was stress and overwhelm. Stress and overwhelm were just waiting for me. And I don't know if you've ever been through a phase of this in your life, or maybe you're in the phase right now where you just wake up in the morning, you have not even had your first thought, but there is stress and overwhelm waiting for you. Maybe it's you're not as far along as you should be. Maybe it's some fear about something. Maybe it's a fear of financial insecurity, but bam, there it is waiting for you. Now, the previous day, I had been in this container of motivation and inspiration. And one of the beautiful things that Les is able to do is he references Bible quotes to really motivate you and inspire you and teach you and to lift up your spirits. So I'm a religious person. I didn't grow up in a religious family. I didn't know the Bible very well. So I snuck out of bed and I went to the bathroom and I'm looking up daily Bible verse on my phone. Just had an inspiration to do that. And I don't remember what Bible verse came up that day, but it spoke specifically to the fears and worries that I was experiencing that morning. Literally, stress and anxiety out the door with this one Bible passage. And I was like, this is amazing. And so I go to the training for the second day. We wrap up the second day and we go to bed. We stay in the hotel that night. I wake up the next morning. It's me in bed, Dexter, my Chihuahua, Carol, who then was my girlfriend and is now my wife, and our friend Stress and Overwhelm again. So I wake up with stress and overwhelm, but I'm like, mother F, I got your name this time. So I go to the bathroom. I go to Google daily Bible verse. I click on the first result, and I have no idea what it means. It's something about somebody's begatting somebody else, who's begatting somebody else, who's begatting. It's just pages of begatting. So I go back on Google, I click on the next search result, and it's one of those Old Testament, angry God, fire and brimstone type of thing. I'm like, well, this isn't particularly helpful right now. So I go back, I look at the third result. I must have gone through 8 search results just looking for something that would inspire me. Couldn't find a damn thing. And I had this thought, which was, wouldn't it be nice if there was a way, depending on how you're feeling, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, that you could find a corresponding Bible verse that you could use to uplift your spirits. And so that morning I didn't find anything. We head back in the car and Carol says, hey, let's take a different route back to Orlando. So we end up going south and then up along the west coast of Florida, and we're heading back towards Orlando. And we get around exit 33, and all of a sudden Carol says, babe, we got to pull over. I have to use the restroom. So I said, okay, fine. So we get off at exit 33, and as I am getting off the off-ramp, all of a sudden I hear a huge boom, and the back right tire of my car gets blown out. So we get off the off-ramp. We start limping over to a racetrack gas station. We pull into the gas station, and I'm like, oh, my God, what a pain. So we get out of the car, and I start pulling out the kit that I got in the back of my car to change a tire. And Carol looks at me, and she goes, you know how to change a tire. And first of all, I was insulted, right? Because I'm a man. I'm a manly man. And I'm like, I absolutely know how to change a tire. And she goes, you've never changed a tire in your entire life. I said, look, you have no idea. Before I met you, when I was back in high school, they called me David Tire Changing Bear. That's how many tires I've changed. She's like, all right, well, good luck, but I just think you should call AAA. So I start trying to get this tire off my Audi A5. I have no idea how to change a tire. So finally defeated, I call AAA, and I'm waiting for whoever they send to come in, who's much manlier than I am, fix my tire, right? Change my tire. So I'm sitting there on the curb. Carol's on a conference call. She's just doing her lady boss thing. She's walking around the gas station with the chihuahua in her arms and doing deals. And I'm just sitting there defeated. And there's an older gentleman who's over by the gas pumps, and he's like beelining over to me. You ever have someone where, like, you know, they're looking at you, they're walking over to you. You don't even know who they are, but they're clearly coming to you. So he's walking right over to me. And he says, hey there, young man, how are you? And I said, I'm doing fine. He says, were you in the service? And he's looking at my shirt. And I'm wearing this shirt, which is a raw denim brand called G-Star. So it's a big GSTR across my chest. So I look down because he's looking at it, and I realize he must think it's United States Marine Corps. I said, no, sir, I wasn't in the service, but he has, I can't remember what it was, like an Air Force hat on or a Navy hat on. I can't remember. I said, no, I wasn't in the service, but thank you for your service. He said, I guess in my old age, I've lost some of my vision. He says, I thought you had on a United States Marine Corps shirt. I said, no, sir. He says, well, what happened? I said, well, my tire blew out on the off-ramp. He says, well, do you need any help with that? And I said, no, that's very kind of you. I don't. And he goes on to just tell me a very short story. He says, you know, when my wife and I were younger and my son was just a baby, we was driving from Florida to Tennessee, and the alternator went out on our car. And back then it was $50 to fix an alternator, and we didn't have, but $1 on us, but a kindly couple came by and they gave us the $50 so we could get the alternator fixed and go on our way. So I thought I'd pay it forward if you needed any help. And I said, man, that is so cool of you. I really, really appreciate it. I said, but we're fine. I'm waiting for AAA because I'm not manly enough to know how to change my own tire. So he says, all right, well, listen, have a great day. And he walks about 10 feet away from me, heading back to the gas pumps, and he turns around and he says, by the way, do you own a Gideon's Bible? And I just get the chills because I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now, but all of a sudden I realize, like, I'm in the midst of the magic and I'm experiencing it. And I said, no, I don't own a Gideon's Bible. He said, that's not why I walked over here. He said, hold on one second. So he walks back to his car. He comes back with these two little pocket Bibles. One is like a turtle shell Bible. The other one's baby blue. And he hands me the turtle shell Bible. He says, this one's for you. You can give the baby blue one to your wife. He goes, do you know how Gideon's Bible works? I said, I don't. And he said, well, you open it up, and here on the first page, it says this Bible belongs to, and you can put your name in here if you'd like to. He says, then after that, there's a table of contents. You can look at the table of contents and you can find whatever you're going through. Maybe it's stress, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's overwhelm. And you can find a referencing Bible passage that you can then go read that speaks specifically to the emotional challenges that you're experiencing to help uplift your spirits. And I just sat there and I was like, oh my God. And he goes, that's right. That's who he is. And I'm just sitting there and I go, you will have no idea what an extraordinary gift this is. I said, what was your name? He said, my name is Harold Woodall from Plant City, Florida. And he said, in my old age, there's one thing I know. He says, I may never appreciate what an extraordinary gift this is, but I also know that you never know who you're going to run into. And I was like, well, this is extraordinary. Thank you, Mr. Harold Woodall from Plant City, Florida. So he leaves, and I get back in the car with my wife, and I'm like, Carol, this is mind-blowing to me. I'm sitting in a Les Brown training. He's talking about reaching into the nightstand to grab the Gideon's Bible. I have this experience in the bathroom that I need to tell you about where I was just dealing with stress and anxiety, and I had this thought, which was, wouldn't it be nice if there was a way I could identify the negative emotion that I was feeling and then find a corresponding Bible quote to uplift my spirits. And then somehow we blow the tire out here, and this dude walks up to me and he hands me exactly the tool that I said, wouldn't it be nice if it existed, not knowing that it even existed. And so we started dissecting that. And there are a couple of principles here that are at work, and it's important for you to understand if you want to be able to experience more miracles in your life, if you want to be able to create or co-create more miracles in your life, because there is a science to this. It's not just some sort of woo-woo. It's not just a thing that happens every once in a while. I believe the miracles are happening all the time when we let them in. And so the first step to the miracle-making process is have a desire. Know what you want. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be absolutely clear on what you want. That doesn't mean that you have to focus every day on what you want, like a lot of personal development teaches you, and you've got to like ingrain it into your brain. You've got to do incantations or affirmations or jump up and down or, drink your special coffee while you're visualizing or put yourself into a theta state or a beta state or an alpha state. You just need to know what you want. What do you want? And we're placing orders for the things that we want all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. That morning, I said, wouldn't it be nice if there was a thing that is the Gideon's Bible, right? Wouldn't it be nice? That's it. That's placing my order. And even when we're experiencing things that we don't want, what's happening at an unconscious level is we're getting clear on what we do want. When you're experiencing financial insecurity, the desire that immediately occurs, whether you're aware of it or not, is a desire for financial prosperity and abundance. When you're experiencing chronic health conditions, autoimmune disease, some sort of inflammatory condition, while you're entangled with that, let's call it problem, the solution is being born, right? The solution of well-being and perfect health. While you're experiencing the absence of a significant other or a soulmate, and instead you're experiencing round after round after round of toxic relationships, what's being born is the desire to find the perfect person or the perfect match for you. And so the order placing has already taken place. This is really important to understand. You've already placed the order. You've got like hundreds, if not thousands, if not 10,000s of desires that have already been born. Okay? So number one, you have to know what you want, but 99% of what you want has already been acknowledged or recognized by the universe. Okay? Number two, and if you look at the story that I'm sharing with you, we can see how it occurred. All of life begins to organize in order to fulfill on that desire. Look at all of the things that had to happen in order for this story, this miracle to occur. I had to have a hunch that I should go to a Les Brown training. I had to have a second hunch that I should check the website again. My wife at the last minute needed to have said, you know what, I'll come along on the trip with you. Les Brown had to have decided to tell the story of the Gideon's Bible in that 2-day event that I attended. I needed to have had to wake up 2 mornings in a row stressed and overwhelmed. The first morning, I needed to have found a Bible quote to uplift my spirits. And the second morning, I had to have not found a Bible quote so that I could go, you know what? It would be nice if I had this thing. My wife had to have suggested that we take a different route back to Orlando than the route we took from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale. She needed to have to go to the bathroom at that specific exit 33. I had to decide that morning to put on my G-Star raw denim shirt. And this guy, Harold Woodall, had to have decided that he needed to get gas at that specific time and notice me sitting on the curb in absolute dismay of the fact that I'm not manly enough to change a tire. And he had to have misinterpreted my shirt as United States Marine Corps so that he could walk over, acknowledge me for my service, have a conversation with me, and then he had to be in tune enough to listen to the hunch as it was coming to him to ask me if I owned a Gideon's Bible. And oh, by the way, have 2 of them in his truck. So if that doesn't convince you that there is an external coordination of intelligence taking place all the time, architecting responses to your desires, well, I guess you will never be convinced, right? It is extraordinary the level of sophistication that had to take place and the amount of effort and coordination in order to get that Gideon's Bible into my hands, okay? Number 1, you have to have the desire. Number 2, all of life begins to organize in order to fulfill on that desire. Now, number 3 is really, really important, and we have so many episodes talking about this. In a lot of the recent episodes, I've been teaching what I call the master equation in personal growth, which is that if you want to create anything in your life, there's a very simple mathematical equation that speaks to how to do it, and that is desire plus non-resistance equals desired result, right? And that equation is really speaking to the problems of resistance or the problems of limiting beliefs. What it's saying is that if you have a desire, as long as your beliefs are in alignment with the desire and the fulfillment of the desire, 100% of the time, consistently and predictably, you will produce the desired result. And I won't get into all the details here because I've done it in so many other episodes, but this is just foundational to behavioral psychology. This idea that what you believe determines how you think determines how you feel determines how you act produces your results. So you're always producing results that are direct alignment with your beliefs. Your brain is a goal-achieving machine. But if you've got a limiting belief, that is resistance. And you cannot produce, or it is more difficult to produce, the desired result when you're operating with resistance, because a limiting belief produces resistant thoughts. Resistant thoughts produce negative and unproductive emotions. Negative and unproductive emotions create ineffective action, and ineffective action produces non-result, right? So desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. So this third part of the miracle-making equation is to not really pay that much attention to the thing that you want after you've placed your order via the mechanism of desire. Forget about it. That's exactly what I did. Did I spend the rest of that morning going, man, I just wish I could find something to help me get out of my suffering? Why isn't there a thing that exists that can organize all of Scripture and put it into some sort of artificial intelligence that matches up with the negative emotions that I'm experiencing? How come it's not here yet? How come other people have cool tools that can help them with their personal growth, but I don't have this thing that I have this idea for? No, I didn't do any of that. I literally said, wouldn't it be nice? But think about the things that you really, really want. Do you say, wouldn't it be nice if this autoimmune condition went away and I experienced well-being, and then forget about it? Do you say, wouldn't it be nice if I had financial abundance and prosperity, $1 million in my bank account, and then just kind of forget about it? Do you go, wouldn't it be nice if I met the person of my dreams and then just forget about it? No. That's not how it works. Why? Well, because what happens the moment you have a desire is that you're now aware of, this is how the brain works, you're now aware of both the desire and the absence of the desire. And because the mind is survival-based, it tends to focus on the absence of the thing that you want. And then it creates a bunch of stories and a bunch of false beliefs, or it applies beliefs that are false that you've been carrying for a long, long time as an explanation to why you don't have the thing that you want yet. And so you become entangled with the problem versus allowing for the solution. But if you have a desire, and then you realize that all of life is now reorganizing itself to fulfill on the desire, and you're in non-resistance, that's how you can start to experience miracles. And one of the things I said at the beginning of this episode is that this is also based in neuroscience, is that we understand that when you have a desire, there's an electrical activation in your brain. Neural networks become active that represent the desire. You start thinking about the future. And anytime you think about something, your brain doesn't know the difference between actually experiencing it or just imagining it. So you start to forge or build new neural networks as if this thing that you desire already existed. There was an incredible study done in 2009. It was featured in Time magazine where they brought in piano players. They had them play the piano, and they studied what parts of their brain lit up. Then they had them come back in and just imagine playing the piano. The same parts of the brain lit up to 80% of the level as if they were actually playing the piano. So when you have a desire and you start imagining the fulfillment of that desire, you're actually building a memory of a future that hasn't happened yet. You're starting to change your brain. And that's an electrical activity. And that electrical activity gets transmitted through the rest of your nervous system. You experience it as an emotion, and you start to literally vibrate or resonate at that frequency. And because we live in an energetic reality where everything is built off of this sort of energetic blockchain, the entire physical world is literally operating on top of what the New Thought movement folks called the ether and what the Hindus called the akasha, or that's often referred to as the fifth element or the unified field, or I guess some people refer to it maybe as the Holy Spirit, right? All of physical reality is connected to this energetic mainframe. And so everything gets communicated with that, hey, John just placed his order. Everybody start unconsciously operating in ways that can deliver these miracles. So this is the science of miracle making. Now, what really becomes mind-blowing is that this also occurs outside of time and space. I don't want to go too deep on this with you, but if you think about it, Harold Woodall from Plant City, Florida, showing up at that gas station required all of the other experiences of Harold Woodall's life up until that point in time to occur in order for him to be there. I mean, think about it. Since he was born, his whole life is a cause and an effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. He decides he's going to enroll in the military. He goes and does service somewhere. He ends up marrying his sweetheart. An alternator breaks down. People show up and they give him money to fix an alternator. They're able to get from Florida to Tennessee. He retires at some point, decides to go to Florida. He wakes up one day, his gas tank is almost empty, so he's got to drive over to the racetrack gas station. And who does he run into? David Baer. So if we're present to what I'm saying, not what I'm saying, but if we're present to what I'm saying, life is in the process of bringing you the dreams and the vision that you don't even have yet, that you will have, and it's already working to fulfill on it. I mean, that is mind-blowing. Life is working to give you things that you don't even know you want yet. And so life is always working for our greatest growth, our greatest prosperity, and our greatest evolution. There is this corresponding nature to life where the moment we have a desire, it is operating to fulfill on that desire. Now, does that mean that we just sit around and have a kumbaya while someone delivers $1 million to our, front porch? No, that's not what I'm saying. You'll have thoughts, you'll have ideas. I had a thought, which was go to this speaker training. I had to get into my car. I had to invest in the speaker training. But in the process of all that, a desire I had, albeit a small material thing, produced what I believe is an extraordinary miracle in my life. And so it is important to understand that you play a critical role in the materialization of miracles in your own life. Number one, your job is to desire. Good news is you're already doing that. You're doing that whether you're aware of it or not. Number two, life starts to organize to fulfill on that desire for you. Number three, you can allow that coordination to occur by relaxing, by being non-resistant, by actually forgetting about the thing that you want. And here's a pro tip. The more desperate you feel about the thing that you want to create, the more you need to completely forget about it, right? If you're wanting to create more money, stop trying to create more money. I had the last episode. You can go and listen to it. If you want to create a breakthrough in your personal growth, you may be at a point right now where your breakthrough is going to come as soon as you stop wanting a breakthrough in your personal growth. Because when we desire too hard, right? Once we've already placed the order, we're like, where is it? Where is it? How come it's not here yet? What am I doing wrong that it hasn't occurred yet? How come other people have it, but I don't have it? That's all resistance. That's all resistance. It lowers your vibration. It puts you into a primal state. It activates the sympathetic nervous system. You're in fight or flight, and you're not available for life to coordinate with you the creation of these miracles. So, super, super powerful conversation. Like, I just appreciate you allowing me to share it with you, because I have to remind myself so often of how all of this works, because the rest of the world is not thinking this way. The rest of the world is not operating this way. Most people think that you materialize your desires by hustle and grinding. Most people think you materialize your desires by having enough time or having enough money. And if you don't have enough time or you don't have enough money, well, then you just limit what's possible for you, right? Most people are operating according to very, very bad mathematics that are making things a lot harder than it needs to be. And if we can just relax a little bit and trust life a little bit more, to surrender to the fact that something, whatever you want to call it, I call it a higher power of my own understanding. A lot of times the language I use for it is God, but it's not religious. For you, it might be Jesus or Allah or the universe or nature or intelligence itself. It's working to give us everything that we've ever asked for, right? We find this in Scripture: ask and ye shall receive. And the missing piece in that very simple equation is ask and then chill out and forget about it, and you will receive. So I hope you found some value in this episode. I'm sure you did, if you're still here. And start paying attention to what's happening around you, because the miracles are occurring every single day. And in fact, I heard someone once say that even giving it the name of a miracle is misleading. The only reason why we call it a miracle is because it happens infrequently. And the only reason that it happens infrequently is because, man, we just get too focused on the absence of the thing that we want in our life. And if you could just place your orders and have your desires and just go on with your joyful self, man, the miracles will start showing up every single day. So many blessings to you. I am expecting miracles in your day today, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.